Good morning. Welcome to the new me. And today's show, studies, studies, studies. Studies plus warnings equals confusion. And I think some of you may know where I'm going. For many, many, many years now, I've been talking and writing about uh, the smokers, this discrimination against smokers because of studies. This study says that smoking kills you. This study says that smoking kills people who don't smoke. And everybody runs to the studies and believes it. Once the smokers were taken care of, now basically we all know that smokers, in some people's eyes, in fact, and I think 80% of Americans view smokers as criminals, as evil incarnate, as filthy, horrible people that are not only doing damage to our bodies, but to everybody else's around them as well. And they believe this because researchers in a laboratory said so. And it's funny about that because I predicted when the smoking thing started to really gain a lot of attention, and for surprising reasons, smokers didn't fight back the way we should have. I predicted that they would come after fat people. Yes, I said the F word. I said fat because whether you call it overweight or plus size or obese, it's still fat. And they did come after fat people for a very short time. And do you know why now? Fat people are on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Fat people are in hit television series and being nominated for awards because they fought back. They said, you're not going to discriminate against me because of the way I look, because I don't look like you want me to look. Even though there is research and studies that say without a doubt that being even 25 or 30 pounds overweight increases your risk for a lot of major costly illnesses. Diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, heart disease, knee and hip failure because of all that weight put on your knees and your hips. People younger than ever are having knee replacement and hip surgery because they're fat. But no. Back in the day, insurance companies, health insurance companies asked if you smoked and how much you weighed. And then the insurance companies did a little math and did your BMI. And if your BMI was a bad number, they said, ooh, no, you're high risk because you're fat. And we're going to charge you more for health insurance. Well, Obamacare stopped that. See, health insurance companies aren't allowed to ask you what you weigh anymore. But they're allowed to ask you if you use tobacco products and charge you accordingly. Okay? Now work with me here. There's another question that health insurance companies no longer ask. How much do you drink alcohol? How many alcoholic beverages do you consume in a week? They don't ask that anymore, but maybe they should start. Because lo and behold, there's a new study. Researchers in a lab somewhere just came out last week and said, get ready for it, even light to moderate alcohol consumption increases your risk of cancer by a lot, like 70%. And it's colon cancer, it's the nasty cancers, breast cancer, colon cancer. I mean, who wants that, right? Colon cancer? Ooh. You know the test for colon cancer, it's not fun. And the surgery for colon cancer is really, really not fun. And no offense to anybody who has to do it, but I can't imagine shitting in a bag for the rest of your life is fun either. But so this is what they're saying. This is what studies say. So now they're coming after alcohol users. So we already took care of the smokers. We're kicked to the curb. We're evil incarnate. Nobody wants us anywhere near them. Fat people fought back, and now they are applauded for loving their fat bodies, for enjoying making people uncomfortable in a movie theater, enjoying paying for 2 airline seats because they can't fit into one, enjoying getting out of breath when they walk out up one flight of steps. They're allowed to do that now. They are on the cover of Sports Illustrated. They are applauded for loving their fat bodies. Good for them. They fought back. And now nobody's allowed to talk about something. You're not even allowed to call somebody fat. You can get in trouble for that. You have to call them plus size or curvaceous. Imagine. Really? No, they're fat. And they are at high risk for many diseases because that has been proven. Overweight people, fat people, are more likely to have diabetes, high blood pressure, heart problems, and knee and hip problems, joint problems. That's a proof. That's not a study. They didn't make rats fat and then see if their knees failed. Okay, it's proof. But again, not allowed to discriminate about how somebody looks. But you can kick a smoker out in the bitter, freezing cold blizzard to smoke a cigarette because studies show their secondhand smoke might make you sick. Well, you know what? Now, the alcohol that you are drinking in the bar where you're kicking me to the curb to smoke a cigarette is probably more dangerous for you, according to the study, than sitting next to me in that bar while I smoke a cigarette and you're drinking a Diet Coke. That's what the studies say. Now let's talk about these studies because really they're all a bunch of bullshit. First of all, we don't know who was studied. We don't know anything about their lifestyle. For all we know, they studied 40 or 100 or 1,000 people who drink every day, but who also are obese or who smoke 4 packs of cigarettes a day. We don't know. But here's what they wanted, and this is what happens with most studies. They knew what result the people who paid for the study wanted. So it's not a blind study because they already knew what the expected results were supposed to be. And what the results were supposed to be was just like with smoking. It was supposed to scare the crap out of anybody who uses alcohol and make them stop using it. You know, they're trying to put the tobacco industry out of business, and now the people at the Coors Light factory are going, what the fuck? Oh my God. Because remember, the study says even light to moderate drinking, your risk goes up for these cancers. They're coming after the alcohol users, even social drinkers. One glass of wine with dinner every night. Oh my God, you're going to get cancer. And let's look at some other studies because I posed this question to some of you last season. Give me an example of one product, one thing that does not cause cancer or illness. And you tried your best. Everybody, of course, right away, water. Ever heard of Flint, Michigan? You know, where the lead in the water is making people sick? Oh, well, we drink bottled water. Do you drink it out of a plastic bottle? Remember the study? Plastic bottles increase your risk of cancer. They're carcinogens, the plastic bottle. Like microwaving? There's a study that says microwaving and microwave food can cause brain cancer. Your cell phone, a study showed, can cause brain cancer. See where I'm going? This is a good one. Grilling your meat. That meat is full of carcinogens, cancer-causing agents, because if it's charred, you're in trouble. The Weber Grill people are going, what the fuck? My God, people are going to stop grilling meat. No, they're not. Back when I was younger, real young actually, about 12 or 13, and I remember this because my grandmother had just been diagnosed with diabetes because she was fat. And she started using Sweet and Low, artificial sweetener. And after a few years, I remember I was probably about 14, 15, and a health teacher, by the way, did this thing about how they were saying that Sweet and Low caused cancer in lab rats, okay, or in mice. Now, this teacher said, now, before you believe this study, think about the mouse, which is like, I don't know, that big. Then think about a syringe this big, and they're stuffing it with Sweet and Low and shoving it into the mouse 24/7. And within a few months, the mouse gets cancer. Well, yeah, I mean, come on. I'd like to know if they're testing this alcohol theory on rats, how much alcohol are they feeding these rats? I mean, I don't know. And I wonder if the rats prefer red or white. I mean, look, if you want to live your life by a study, by a research, don't you think that you should actually know who was researched and who did the research and who paid for the research? I would love to know that, but nobody offers that information. They just say studies just showed, and some of the studies are bizarre. I am reading a book right now by Mika Brzezinski, and if you know the name, you do know that she is on Morning Joe on MSNBC, and it has nothing to do with MSNBC, but anyway, that's who she is. She wrote this book about her obsession with food, and in the book, she's talking about exercise, and she's saying that studies show, there was a study from some university I've never even heard of, that for every hour that you sit still, that you sit every day, your life expectancy drops by 20 minutes. Now that's interesting because there was another study that said that for every cigarette you smoke, you take 7 minutes off your life. It sounds to me like studies say that sitting is more dangerous to you than smoking is, according to both studies. Now explain to your boss why you will no longer be sitting at your desk, because studies say it's killing me. Sitting down at my desk is killing me. If you're watching my show right now, you're probably sitting at a computer. And then you're going to go home and you're going to sit on a sofa and you're going to eat your dinner and you're going to watch TV. And that's going to take 20 minutes per hour off of your life expectancy, according to studies. I'm sorry, a study. Ain't it grand? Now, my father died of cancer when he was 74 years old. And he smoked 4 packs of Lucky Strikes. Those are unfiltered cigarettes. And he smoked these cigarettes every day from the age of 14 till 74 when he died. And of course, the doctor said, well, you have cancer because you smoke. But he was also an alcoholic. You get where I'm going? So now, because of this study, maybe he got cancer because he was an alcoholic. Because he, did a bottle of Jack every day. I mean, who knows? Here's another problem, and it has to do with doctors. If your doctor diagnoses you with an illness, and your doctor really hates smoking, probably because he's human and he has a little bit of a bias, he's going to blame smoking. Now, because of this new study, if he's been a victim of a drunk driver, if he has a family member who's an alcoholic, he may say, oh my God, you got cancer because you drink. Which one? I do both. I smoke a pack and a half of cigarettes a day, and I drink, at least 4 glasses of wine every day. And sometimes on the weekends, it's more of both. Here's my thing. I think right now anybody who has been diagnosed with cancer and has been told that they have gotten that cancer from secondhand smoke, from sitting in a smoky bar or working in a smoky bar, maybe they should be asked how many alcoholic beverages they consume on a daily basis. Because they may find out that they actually didn't get their cancer from secondhand smoke, they got it from alcohol. But again, the study that said secondhand smoke causes cancer in non-smokers probably forgot to ask these non-smokers how much alcohol they consume, or how many steaks they grill in a year, or how often they use their microwave, or how many plastic bottles of water do they consume on a daily basis. See where I'm going? See where I'm going here? Okay, I'm done with that one. Studies, 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 studies. They're all over the place, right? Here's the problem. We are all so consumed, obsessed, in Mika Brzezinski's words, with living as long as possible. Like somehow we're in control of any of that. Okay? Any of you really think that you're never going to die? And any of you think that you know how and when and where you're going to die? Because you don't. Unless you have some kind of magical powers that none of us has. I know for a fact that I'm going to die. It could even be today. It could be tomorrow. Or it could be 30 years from now. I don't know how, I don't know when, and I don't know where. Now, I can probably guarantee you that I won't be dying in church. And please, put your thumbs away. I know that sounds very snarky and unsympathetic, but that is the point right now in our country. Going to church can kill you, as happened in Texas and in Carolina. When you go to church on Sunday morning, you better look around and ask yourself, did anybody sitting around me, are they in an argument with their in-laws or somebody? The fact that myself, a pack and a half a day, 4 glasses of wine a day, drinker and smoker, outlived an 18-month-old child is kind of ironic. The fact that I have outlived, and my father outlived, that 18-month-old, along with 20 kindergartners at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. We've outlived them. And that's not the way things are supposed to go. 18-month-olds, well, I should be dead before the 18-month-old. I should be dead before those 5-year-olds. But I'm not. And what did they do? They went to church and they went to school. And this is the problem right there. Because that's not a study, people. That's not a university laboratory research. It's proof. That 18-month-old and 25 other people went to church on Sunday and were executed while worshiping the Lord. 25-year-olds went to kindergarten at Sandy Hook Elementary School and were executed. And this could happen because it has happened, and it's happening more frequently. You know, I was in the mall a couple weeks ago before the church shooting, and now if I go to the mall, I'm going to be walking around going, wait a minute. I really hope nobody here pissed off somebody who went out and decided to get an AR-15 and followed them here. See, the in-laws in Texas, they have a routine. They went to church every Sunday, so this monster knew where to find them. And they weren't there that day, and I don't know who, divine intervention, whatever, they missed church that day, but he knew where they were supposed to be. And he got his AR-15, and when they weren't there, you know what? He just shot 46 people anyway. People he didn't even know, probably. They were collateral damage. And they didn't expect to be. Not in church, because there were no research studies that say, hey, you got a good chance of being killed in church. But we don't need a research study to know that we can be killed in school, or in church, or at a concert, or in a mall, or sitting in a restaurant, or walking down a street. We already know that that can happen because it's happening with frequency. So I don't need a study to tell me that I may drink, I may smoke, I may grill my food, I use a microwave, I drink water out of a plastic bottle. And I do use artificial sweeteners, by the way. Just stack them up. But I also walk down the street. I go to the mall. I go to nightclubs sometimes. I go to restaurants. I am in public places. And those are just as risky in 2017 America as me sitting here in my house having a glass of wine and smoking some cigarettes. That is what we should think about, instead of worrying about this study or that study. It's common sense. It's seeing something, saying something, being vigilant of your surroundings. And sure, if it makes you feel good to quit drinking because a study says this, then quit drinking. But I choose to live my life every single day because I'm not guaranteed a tomorrow. And I know that because I watch people being memorialized on television on a regular basis who all they did was go to a concert. All they did was go to work. All they did was go to school. They went to church, and now they're dead. And they're not old. They weren't sickly. Maybe some of them were, but they weren't dying that day of any illness. They probably were planning a backyard barbecue after church. Or maybe go out for a nice lunch and have a glass of wine or two. And I wish they had lived to be able to do that, despite the warnings and the research studies. And I wish they were still here. And I wish that all of you and anybody else who chooses to judge somebody based on any research study would do your own research and find out who pays, who benefits, what the whole point of the study was in the first place. Because it is confusing. There have been studies that say that red wine is good for you. It thins your blood and it reduces the risk of heart disease, stroke, and even high blood pressure. But now it causes cancer. Do you care? And if you do care, what are you going to do? You're going to start lecturing people now about drinking? Drinking causes cancer. Like you do about smoking. And if you are one of those people who are plus size, I don't even want you to lecture me. Don't even try. Because then I'm going to have to lecture you back. Because I have proof that what you do to your body by being plus size will make you sick someday. You may not get cancer, although obesity is linked to certain cancers. You may not get a heart attack or stroke, but you will have joint problems. You will have knee problems. You might need a hip replacement because our bodies aren't meant to carry that kind of weight. So don't lecture me. Don't throw a stone from your glass house into my house. Because that stone is going to revert off my brick house and come right back to you. I really hate it when an overweight doctor says you really should quit smoking. Or especially if an overweight doctor says you should lose some weight. Hypocrite much? It's frustrating. So think about your daily life. The next time you're ready to lecture somebody based on some study that you've read from some university and somewhere. You want to lecture someone who, in my house, it's 5 o'clock everywhere, all the time. But if you're going to lecture somebody about their own lifestyle because you read a study, then you better be prepared for them to lecture back. And I've just given them a lot of ammunition to do so. When was the last time you grilled some meat? When was the last time you used your microwave? And is that a plastic water bottle? Political Paula, out.